Hi everyone, this is Juanjo Mena from the University of Salamanca in Spain. It's a great pleasure and an honor to participate in the 7th International Forum on Teacher Education organized by the Kazan Federal University in Russia. Thanks to all of you, and especially to Dr. Rosa Boleva for giving me the opportunity to deliver my speech about online teaching and the use of innovative methodologies. Online teaching, understood as the process of teaching via internet, has become a predominant way of delivering lessons in higher education worldwide. The layoffs, lockdown measures, and the risks of illness caused by COVID-19 have displaced teaching from the classroom to computers, laptops, and other devices at home. Moving sessions to virtual spaces such as Zoom or Blackboard, Meet, or Microsoft Teams brings new scenarios for learning and different opportunities for student engagement. The main problem when using online teaching in higher education is using recitation or turn-taking dialogues as a predominant method, which in turn transform new media into traditional teaching. The purpose of this talk is twofold. In one hand, to describe the main characteristics of the virtual spaces, and in a second place, to describe some active methodologies to use in virtual spaces, stressing their advantages and major limitations. Teaching and teachers, especially at the schools, and teacher educators at the university can use three teaching approaches nowadays: face-to-face teaching, e-learning teaching, and online teaching. As I told before, the COVID-19 outbreak has provoked colleges and universities closures worldwide. This exceptional situation has led to a sudden transition from face-to-face teaching or e-learning to online teaching. This has been particularly challenging for teacher education programs, as they need to adopt new forms of teaching and also human interactions. Teacher education programs and also teaching can be divided into two types: the online teacher education programs. We have two groups: online teaching, asynchronous online teaching, and also synchronous online teaching. Within the first group, teachers can design these three types of open courses: MOOC, massive open online courses; SPOOC, self-paced open online courses; and NOOC, which stands for nano open online courses. But also teachers can go for private courses, and within this group we have traditionally learning management systems, LMS, such as Moodle, or we also have SPOC, small private online course, or COOC, COOC, corporative open online courses. Well, but within the mainstream online synchronous teaching, we can highlight the following communication services: Google Meet, Zoom, Blackboard, and also Teams and Jitsi. Well, let's quickly revise the technical characteristics of each tool, each of them, and then we'll discuss about the pedagogical implications on their use. Well, let's start with Google Meet. Well, in Google Meet, the maximum number of students allowed per session are 250 with no time restrictions. There are different types of layouts, and users can present their work sharing a screen, as they can see up to 16 participants at once. Besides, there are customizable backgrounds that are offered, and the user will be able to easily blur out the background or replace it with an image. This will bring the focus of your team or of your classroom exclusively on the speaker, on the teacher in this case. Participants also can use the raise hand functionality to ask for their turn in a conversation without interrupting the teacher's speech. And finally, the teacher can set up a meeting from Google Calendar, which makes it easier to use. Like you can see in the image, this is it's a great functionality of this tool. If we go to Jitsi, Jitsi allows for an unlimited number of students. There is also no time restrictions. Jitsi might be the easier video communication platform to set up a meeting, as both teachers and students can join without giving an email or a name. Jitsi Meet allows to record the video conference session, but after 24 hours, the recording file is deleted from its servers, in this case, from the Dropbox cloud storage system. In Jitsi, all participants act as moderators. Well, if we go to Zoom Meet, the free version of this tool allows up to 100 students to be in a meeting, but this meeting cannot exceed 40 minutes of time. The major characteristics of this video communication platform against some of their counterparts are the following. It offers, as you all know, a digital whiteboard for the teacher or students to manually write down main ideas, explanations, drawings. It offers a teacher the possibility of combining and sharing your PC screen, or also your iPhone or your iPad, which is also a great advantage. In the third place, it enables the students to interact with the screen of the teachers, and also to allow two people to annotate on the same shared screen. Another functionality is that you can launch multiple choice surveys. It's a good way to see if the students are understanding the explanation or the text, or simply just to ensure that they are actively listening to the speech. In the fourth place, you can also go for what is called breakout rooms, allowing to divide the students into different video conferencing rooms so they can work into smaller teams. And another peculiarity of Zoom is that you can use the remote control of our student's PC in case that the students need assistance or ask you for operating in his or her computer. This is also a great characteristic or functionality of Zoom. If we go for Teams, in Teams, by Microsoft, in Teams, up to 80 students can participate in a meeting at once without any time limit. It is, from my point of view, along with Zoom, the more sophisticated tool. It also allows, as Zoom does, of writing on a digital board, taking remote control of the PC, dividing students into smaller groups, the breakout rooms. And there is a singularity or a singular characteristic of Teams, is that it integrates Outlook email, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, etc. That Microsoft software into the application, into the platform, and this software is used on a daily basis by many teachers, also worldwide. So this is a great functionality too. Finally, if we go to Blackboard, it's another platform that accepts between 100 to 250 students. This is one of the platforms we are using here at the University of Salamanca, and along with Zoom. We basically use Blackboard more often, just because the big numbers of students that can be on the lessons, up to 250 people. There are no time constraints, but also depends on the type of subscriptions that your university could have. There are also the option for the chat, as many other platforms. It can be done, the chat, you can chat with all of your students, also with single participants, or only with moderators. This is great in the sense that in case you have in your classroom the student representatives or students team leaders, you can just reach them directly, and then they can deliver the message to the rest of the group. This is quite useful when you have a big number of people in the session. Blackboard also allows as the other platforms to share files, screens, digital board, and also you can apply surveys, although you can only apply one survey at a time. The breakout rooms features permits to delimit 2 roles in the group. You can choose between moderators and presenters. So this is basically the technical description of some of the features that we all know about these main communication services that we are all using at the moment. However, I would like now just to enter into the realm of the pedagogical implications of using some of these tools in our classrooms. The fact is that the technical mastery of the before mentioned tools, Meet, Zoom, Google Meet, Jitsi, etc. The technical mastery does not necessarily guarantee the use of effective pedagogical approaches. Teaching is never simply an instrumental activity. By pedagogies, we mean all kinds of teachers' practices, principles, and instructional methods to teach the students. Nowadays, the pedagogical approaches are often placed on a spectrum from teacher-centered to learner-centered pedagogy. This last end, the learner-centered pedagogy, it's obviously focused on the student. And it's widely reivindicated as crucial for any educational system because students use prior knowledge and new experiences to create knowledge. This is what we all know as the constructivist approach, right? Well, the teacher facilitates this process, but also creates structures and conditions for this learning to occur. The way for the teachers to position themselves into the student-centered approach is by using the so-called active learning methodologies. These methodologies can be promoted either in the faculty or the school classroom or in online teaching, and refer to the kind of teaching processes which centers on activities which encourage students to engage in their learning in a more autonomous way. It involves more than short-term memorization and concepts, leading to long-term understanding through analysis, evaluation, and creation, and making students to take responsibilities in their learning. The main limitation of the online tools is that they allow for innovative learning. Understood this learning as the type of learning that is mediated by the information and communication technologies, the ICT. But this is not always active learning. So the thing is, innovative learning is not the same as active learning. Innovative means that you are using as a teacher new technologies, information and communication technologies to facilitate the learning. But active learning means a different thing. Active learning is engaging the student to be active in the learning, just to try to engage or to get implied into a constructivist approach. Sorry about that. So the thing is, teachers should be cautious about this. Again, also innovative learning is not the same as active learning, because if we only use technologies just to deliver our lessons, the simple use of this methodology, the simple use of these technologies might enhance traditional learning. So we have to be just cautious about this. Let's revise the pedagogical implications of using the video communication systems under three major pedagogical approaches. Well, if we go to this table that you have in the screen, you can see here some methodological approaches. These three, teamwork, game and methodological approaches that are based on teamwork, on game and reinforcement, and methodological approaches based on personalized learning and visual learning. Here you have breakdown of the instructional methods, and in this first row you have the five communication tools we have been talking about. What you can see in these icons, you can see green icons, yellow and red. So green, the red icons means that the instructional method, we are going just to talk about them more closely, but just for you to know the meaning of this slide. Red icons means that the instructional method, one of these here, collaborative learning, project-oriented learning, etc. That method cannot be possibly used in the video communication service. It needs further technological development to use it. So currently, if there is an X, that means that you cannot use, or any teacher, this type of instructional method using these platforms, right? The green icons stands for the contrary. So they mean that the instructional method can be applied using specific features of the video communication service. So you can do it with the current features and tools that are offered in that communication service. And the yellow icons means that the instructional service require additional pedagogical knowledge to properly implement that instructional method within the video communication service. This is pretty much the idea. So let's talk about all of the instructional methods. So we have first this approach, the teamwork, and within the teamwork, this methodological approach that is based on teamwork, we have these 4 instructional methods: collaborative learning, problem-based learning, project-oriented learning, and design thinking. So teamwork, when we go into the first one, the collaborative learning or cooperative learning, for instance, Zoom, Blackboard, or Teams allow for using breakout rooms for working in groups. Breakout rooms are sessions, as you all know, that are split off from the main meeting. They allow the participants to meet in smaller groups and are completely isolated in terms of audio and video from the main session. Breakout rooms can be used for collaboration and discussion. However, the fact of using this improvement does not necessarily mean that we are using a collaborative learning method. For this to occur, the teacher has to think or has to put into practice five aspects. First one, it's the group composition. One of the rules of thumb is that we need 4 members for each group. This is the ideal number with different levels of achievement, high level, lower level, or average level. Second aspect is the time. We need just to invest no more than 20 minutes per session in working in groups. Third, the rules. It's basic to set up as rules for the classroom when we are just splitting up into smaller groups. For instance, those rules need to state in positive tense. They need to be clear and to the point, useful and realistic, and fair and agreed by all the students. As a fourth aspect, we need to determine the roles for each group participant. There should be one organizer for the tasks to be done by the group members. There should be a supervisor, a person within the small group who controls the tasks are done, as well as the completion time. Thirdly, we need the role of the provider, someone just who looks for the material, look up information in the resources available, etc. And fourthly, we need the role of the communicator, the person who starts conversations with the teachers and other groups, representatives or students. Finally, the 5 aspects teachers should think about which collaborative learning technique they want to implement in those breakout rooms. These 5 aspects are basic just to go for collaborative learning. The technical features nowadays, both in Zoom, Teams, and Blackboard allows for the aspect number 1, just to control the group composition and also to control time. But this is basically which stands up as just cooperation or collaboration. However, if the teachers want to move to collaborative learning, they need to successfully implement the instructional strategy by setting up the rules, determining the group roles, and also choosing the best collaborative learning techniques. So we need to move from cooperation to cooperative or collaborative learning. And this is, as again, we need just to think of these 5, the before mentioned 5 characteristics. When we talk about problem-based learning, project oriented learning, and design thinking, these three instructional strategies share the same underlying principle. They entail working in groups, but with a clear set of goals to be accomplished by the students. A project, in the case of the project-oriented learning, a prototype, in the case of design thinking, that should be design, and a complex problem to be solved, which is the case of the problem-based learning. Very quickly, problem-based learning, as you know, it's an instructional strategy in which students learn the subject matter of a course and the related skills by solving real-world problems and reflecting on their experiences of solving the problems. In project-oriented learning, it's also a teaching method in which students gain knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time to investigate and respond to authentic, complex question or mission. And design thinking can be understood as an extension of project-oriented learning, but leading to the design of products, prototypes, or artifacts. All these three instructional strategy, all of these three, share the same underlying principle. They entail working in groups, but with a clear set of goals to be accomplished, right? And also, for all of them, and this is why they are all in yellow, if we want to use this type of instructional method, we definitely need a strong interrelation of the technology with the pedagogical knowledge. And this last still requires considerable exploration, right? So we can use it, we can just try to design our lessons, take into account these three instructional methods, but we should be able to think more deeply about the pedagogical complexities of how to use it online. Right? Okay, if we move to the second methodological approach, which is based on gaming and reinforcement, we have two instructional methods, gamification and digital game-based learning. As you can see in this slide, nowadays it's not possible to use these two instructional methods by using this method, using this platform. Well, gamification, as you know, is defined as the use of game elements in environments that are not playful, like a school classroom or an online lesson. It is about applying aspects of the games, for instance, scores, rankings, budgets, in our own classes to make the lesson more attractive and thus to favor motivation, involvement, and engagement for learning. On the other hand, digital game-based learning, it's a learning that is based on games such as digital games. So it's using regular games. The later try to use video games and digital applications for students to learn by playing. There could be two types of games that we can use in our lessons, in our teaching. Commercial games, which are majority entertainment games that can be used within educational purposes. For instance, playing Angry Birds. I have here Angry Birds, for instance, this game, Angry Birds, to explain the Newton's laws of motion. You can do that, for instance, in a higher education lesson, or you can use serious games. Serious games, those games that are specifically designed to work in educational contents. As I told you before, none of the online meeting software, so none of them, Google Meet, Jitsi, Zoom, Teams, etc., allows to embed gamification applications such as ClassDojo, Kahoot, Plickers, this one, Kahoot, Plickers, Socrative, etc. Although the teachers can always share their screen, for instance, design a trivia game and share the PowerPoint presentation with the students and make the group and make groups through breakout rooms. However, interactivity might be compromised. The only platforms that get closer to this, allowing to pose written questions or to participants, are, as we already talked about that, are Zoom or Microsoft Teams, with the option to activate polls, but this is not the same. Finally, the methodological approach, which is based on personalized learning and visual learning, we can have the flipped classroom and augmented reality. So you also know that flipped classroom is a methodological strategy, which main aim is to increase student engagement and learning by having students complete readings at their home and work on live problem solving during class time. It is typically used as a type of blended learning method. However, distant learning or online teaching through any of the communication tools that we have been talking about offer an ideal opportunity for trying out the flipped classroom, as students are doing so much learning from home anyway. So it will improve the relationship with the students as the teacher-students dynamics shifts from a less instructional model to a more collaborative model, enhancing better dynamics and students' engagement in online classroom. So it can be used. So you can also ask your students to have something prepared beforehand, and when you go to the online lesson, work about how to reflect upon all of the information that they have been reading at their homes, at their own time. This is quite feasible at the moment with these technologies. Finally, and this is the last, the augmented reality. Nowadays, we cannot use augmented reality within these platforms. Augmented reality is a technology that superimposes computer-generated images and animations on top of real-world views. Augmented reality can increase learner engagement by letting learners participate more proactively and authentically with the learning content, rather than being passive recipients of information. You as a teacher might first present, for instance, a new idea to students in a video conference call, like a Zoom call, then provide an opportunity to explore that concept. Imagine that you are teaching the solar system. You can present it first of all in Zoom, Teams, or whatever, and then you can ask the students, in case we have that technology, to use immersive technology. I'm talking about the QR codes, in case we have Google's or other technologies for augmented reality, or other indicators or marks for the augmented reality. But anyhow, you need that the students at home, they can use augmented reality on a device, or just having through their own cell phones. So you can use student cell phones and ask them to use it with a specific marker, a specific QR code, or something like that. But at the moment, we cannot use augmented reality embedded on these tools. In any case, augmented reality can help to democratize access to more effective visual learning, and also just to make it more engaging for the students rather than the traditional classroom. In sum, the main conclusion of this talk point out at two aspects. First of all, the technological developments in online teaching can enhance or constrain the use of active methodologies, but it is highly dependent on teachers' pedagogical skills. This is pretty clear. Secondly, teachers' e-readiness to use technological tools and favor remote interactivity it's still difficult to see in regular classrooms, in regular lessons. So we need still just to get into an online culture of how to interact more effectively with our students. So this is pretty much all. Thank you very much for your attention. Gracias por su atención, and hope just to see you in person next time. Thank you very much and take good care. Cheers.